Hello, everyone. Oh, I felt like that one was extra peppy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Mindful in Minutes podcast. I'm Kelly, and this is a freeform episode, which means we aren't doing a guided meditation, but we are going to do a deep dive into something. We are going back to basics, and we are going to do a 101 episode. And today we are going to dive into mindfulness meditation, or I call it present moment meditation in my meditation teacher training. But we're going to talk all about what this style is, its origins, how you practice it, why it's such a popular and powerful practice. And I also want to talk about what I like about it so much. I have just been looking forward to recording this episode, honestly, all day long. I'm recording it just a little bit early, a few days early, because I am in the midst of packing for the Wild and Wondrous Women Retreat in Scotland, which I'm so excited for. But I need to record this and schedule it. And this is just the thing I've been looking forward to all day as I've been doing logistics and getting packed and all of that. So I'm really happy that you're here. And of course, you probably heard, or maybe not, but I did open up my retreat for next year. It'll be in Costa Rica in February. There's a couple of spots left, not many, but I would love to have you there. And yeah, those are kind of just my call outs for the day. I'm just so grateful that you're here. And I'm excited I just love the 101 episodes. I just love diving deep into these things, talking about this practice that I love. And I did write a little note to myself to nicely ask everyone that if you want to leave a 5-star review or rating or share with a friend, I would appreciate it so much. Maybe you're going on a walk and you're listening, or you're just kind of hanging out on your phone and you want to do that. I'd be so grateful. But also, you just being here is amazing. So with all of that, let's dive into mindfulness meditation. I feel like I say this every Freeform episode where I'm like, I don't know how long this episode will be, because the thing that's so great, we're going to talk about it. The thing that's so great about mindfulness meditation, great and tricky, is that it is so simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. In fact, I think mindfulness meditation is one of the more challenging styles, at least for me personally. It's not one I usually recommend for someone who's just beginning a meditation practice, but it's really quite simple. And so when we talk about how you actually do this, there's not that much to talk about. But what I find to be interesting is like the origins of the practice and how it's changed over time and all of that. So we'll just learn together and we'll chat until we run out of things to chat about. So what exactly is mindfulness meditation? So I want to first talk about, you've heard me talk about this before if you listen to this podcast, but the difference between mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness, if you think of your mind as a light bulb, it's like the light bulb is on, the light is shining in all directions, and whatever you're doing, that light is fully illuminating it. So you can pretty much do anything mindfully. You could fold your laundry mindfully. You could cook dinner mindfully. You can go for a walk mindfully. You can play with your kids mindfully, right? As long as you're just doing a thing at a time, letting that light just kind of illuminate that thing that you're doing, you're practicing mindfulness. Meditation, on the other hand, is taking your mind and taking that light bulb, turning it into a laser pointer. So taking all of that mental power that you have and focusing it on one singular thing. That is meditation. So you can pretty much do anything mindfully. You can't really do anything else when you're meditating as its own sort of practice. Like mindfulness is sort of a quality of being, where meditation is a specific action. It's like a verb, to meditate, where you can live mindfully, do things mindfully. So mindfulness meditation, in its simplest form, it's almost like the hybrid between these two. So it's the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, right? Meditation teaches us how to be an observer, a non-judgmental observer of our thoughts, of our being, and everything around us. It's about tuning into your breath, your body, your thoughts, your surrounding, your sensory experience, and meeting whatever arises with awareness, kind of this gentle, it's kind of like a curious awareness. And depending on who your teacher is or what technique they recommend or kind of who their teacher was, they may recommend that you get You might get a little bit of different direction on what exactly you're meant to focus on. But overall, mindfulness meditation, it's not about having a blank mind or just, again, that light bulb just turning the light off. So it's like your mind is shut off. There's nothing. The mind is going to wander. It's not going to be blank. Like that's what minds are designed to do. When we're sitting in meditation, we're trying to train our mind. It's going to wander, but then we guide it back. It's going to wander and we'll guide it back. We're trying to train our mind to stay with our object of focus for longer and to keep that sustained focus for a longer period of time. So maybe at first you get distracted every 3 to 5 seconds, which is pretty average. Then over time, as you meditate, as you practice this mindfulness meditation, maybe it becomes every 8 seconds. Maybe it's every 12 seconds. Maybe before you know it, you can go 20 seconds without your mind wandering. And every time you get distracted and come back, it's like doing a rep with a weight. You're making your mind a little bit stronger. And the practice is really in noticing when that happens and then bringing your attention back to the present moment again and again. Because often, with the exception of getting distracted by like sensations or even sounds sometimes, a lot of the times what we get distracted by is something in the past or something in the future. So we're either planning into the future, that happens to be kind of my particular flavor of distraction that I like to lean into, is just planning and thinking about what's happening next, or ruminating on something from the past, or a little combo of both of those things. And so it's again and again recognizing you're distracted, anchoring yourself back into the present moment again and again. So you just wander off, come back, wander, come back. It'll strengthen over time. And this practice is really about cultivating presence, focus, and awareness moment by moment. Just about becoming aware, gently anchoring yourself in what is rather than what was or what might be or anything else, and doing that without judgment and with compassion and kindness. So mindfulness meditation really focuses on the quality of being, the sensations that you feel, what you're hearing, what your body's feeling, even, with your thoughts, you can just make note and be like, oh, I'm thinking of this. Your breath, it's really just like being fully, completely present and immersed in the moment, just moment by moment by moment. And if you listen to the attention span episode, or even so many of you did the Stop the Scroll Challenge, which was so fun doing that. So if you joined me, thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed putting that together. But we know that our attention spans are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. So something like this can be a really great antidote to that, to help us stick with one thing for longer periods of time. So the roots of the practice, mindfulness as a practice is ancient, very old, like so old. Pork Chop lately has been walking around the house. He's currently really into dinosaurs, and he'll be saying, like, he likes to quote things a lot. He'll go, 68 million years ago. And it's something that he heard about, like, dinosaurs. He likes to listen to little audiobooks and stuff. And he's just like, 68 million years ago. And so it's just become this thing that I have in my head. And I'm like, when something's really old, I'm like, 68 million years ago. So sometimes I feel like mindfulness meditation was around 68 million years ago. I will say it's probably one of the earliest and most like direct or quote like pure forms of meditation. I don't love that word. I feel like often I hear the word like pure or purist when people are trying to not be very kind to me, and they're like, Kelly of Mindful in Minutes, like, she doesn't teach a pure meditation practice. And I'm like, what does that mean? You mean because I'm making it easy to digest and approachable and fit into everyday life? Like, okay. I'm fine with that. But sometimes I get a little triggered by that word. It's like, what's a real pure meditation? And then I'm always tempted to be like, that doesn't sound like non-judgmental observation to me. But anyways, it is kind of one of these, we'll call it a foundational practice, right? It is the foundation that many other styles of meditation, different techniques, things like that have blossomed from. And the earliest, kind of most direct historical roots for this practice are found in early Indian spiritual traditions, particularly within Buddhism, and it's considered a foundational aspect of the Buddhist practice. So the Buddha himself taught mindfulness as one of the Eightfold Path components, which is a set of principles designed to help individuals really cultivate like ethical living, mental discipline, and ultimately liberation from suffering. One of the most important early texts is the Satipatthana Sutta, which is often translated as the Discourse on the Establishment of Mindfulness. So in this teaching, the Buddha lays out the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And there's mindfulness of the body, which includes breathing, postures, and this physical ascensions. And then mindfulness of feelings, which is noticing whether sensations are pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Mindfulness of the mind, which is observing states like restlessness, joy, anger, or clarity. And then mindfulness of mental phenomena, which is recognizing thoughts, perceptions, and patterns as they arrive. So these teachings became core to different forms of Buddhism, and each tradition emphasizes different styles of this practice, kind of highlights different elements of this eightfold path. So there definitely are different variations of this within the different traditions within Buddhism itself. But overall, at the heart of it, it really is kind of this invitation to wake up your present moment experience. And I love how in this text it talks about the different types of mindfulness, because it really does, when we talk about mindfulness or mindfulness meditation, it includes all these things. You check in with your body, you check in with your feelings and your sensations, you check in with the mind, watching the fluctuations of the mind. And I love this mindfulness of mental phenomena, recognizing thoughts, perceptions, and patterns as they arrive. To me, that's like taking it one layer deeper. It's to like really looking at the patterns and the perceptions. So it's important to remember that originally, mindfulness wasn't a tool for stress relief. It wasn't even necessarily a practice separate from daily life. In Buddhist monasteries and spiritual communities, it was a way of being, a path to insight. It was about compassion and awakening. So monastics would often spend hours each day in seated meditation, walking meditation, or chanting. They'd practice mindfulness while eating, sweeping, drinking a cup of tea, you name it. You heard me talk a little bit about my experience doing this when I was with Bonte, when I was living with the monks for a few weeks. And it really is, for me, it was really life-changing. And it's just this way of being. It just is. It's just a part of like the community. It's just woven into the life and the lifestyle of these groups. And it wasn't something that people did just to feel better. It was really about this gateway to seeking clarity and understanding the nature of suffering and cultivating wisdom. And so it's important that within this, it wasn't like every day everyone was practicing like this. It definitely, was more in the monasteries and the spiritual communities where they're able to do this. But then if you way fast forward from the, beginnings of Buddhism all the way up to kind of the 19th to 20th century, you find that around this time, scholars and explorers from the West began translating Eastern texts and philosophies. And then at the same time, Eastern teachers began traveling westward, offering teachings to new audiences. So in the 1950s and 60s, with the rise of the counterculture movements in the US and Europe, many young people, including many prominent meditation teachers that we're going to talk about in a moment, traveled to Asia in search of spiritual depth. And they studied under Burmese, Thai, Tibetan, and Indian masters, often spending years immersed in these monasteries and retreat centers and just like absorbing the culture of it and having these like year-long experiences. So people like Jack Kornfield, Joseph Goldstein, and Sharon Salzberg studied with masters in Burma before returning to the U.S. and then co-founding places like the Insight Meditation Society in Massachusetts in 1970. So then our good friend, I was going to say we know him, we love him. I'm not going to assume you love him. I love him. I do not know him. We know him and I love him, Jon Kabat-Zinn. And this thing called MBSR, which is mindfulness-based stress reduction. This is where mindfulness meditation took a secular turn. So I think this might be one of the more pivotal moments in bringing mindfulness to the mainstream. And in 1979, when Jon Kabat-Zinn, who was a molecular biologist and longtime meditator, he founded the mindfulness-based stress reduction clinic at the University of Massachusetts Medical Center. So he took the heart of the mindfulness practice, like mindfulness meditation, and offered it in a completely secular clinical format. So no religious language, no Buddhist robes, No, rituals around eating, anything like that. Just breath, body awareness, and presence. And I know I've said this before, but anyone who has masterclass, I think John Kabat-Zinn's masterclass is really good. So if you already have it and you haven't watched that one, I do recommend it. He has a lot of books as well. I will say they sometimes, I find, are a little harder to get through just because he's so rich with his language. It's like one of those where you read a little bit and then you have to sit and really let it like digest. But anyways, it's neither here nor there, just my personal thoughts on John Kabat-Zinn. But this program, MBSR, it was designed for patients experiencing chronic pain, stress, and illness. And the results were honestly amazing. And then over time, MBSR, it spread to hospitals, universities, workplaces around the world. And mindfulness meditation slowly but surely began to really enter the cultural mainstream. And this is something where MBSR, people are familiar with it, even if they aren't necessarily like really familiar with meditation. And this particular practice is quite mainstream because it is so secular and it's taught a lot of places that people go, right? Universities, workplaces, hospitals, things like that. So a lot of times people have heard of either John Kabat-Zinn or MBSR or both. And since then, people have continued to build on this. So mindfulness has really been adapted into a wide range of different programs and settings. I wanted to call a few out because you might have heard of them or be familiar with them and not know that they had roots in mindfulness meditation. So there's mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, MBCT. This one is used a lot for depression and anxiety. There's also mindful self-compassion, MSC, for building emotional resilience. Then there's dialectal behavior therapy, DBT, and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, in psychology. There's also a lot of the school programs out there that help teach kids with emotion regulation, have a foundation in mindfulness meditation. Then, of course, different corporate wellness and leadership trainings, things like that. And pretty much anywhere, obviously here on this podcast, the apps, Headspace, Calm, all of that, they're going to have mindfulness meditation on there. Mindfulness meditation is really everywhere. And it really is one of these deep foundational practices. And again, I think it's one that is so important and it's quite simple, but not always that easy. And then I wanted to just, make a note of a few other notable teachers. One being Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Zen master and poet who taught mindfulness not just as a meditation practice, but as a bigger way of life. So he really invited people to be mindful while doing things like washing the dishes, walking, drinking tea. And his teachings are often like soft and poetic, but really powerful. And then we have Joseph Goldstein, who helped bring Vipassana or insight meditation to the West. So Vipassana or insight meditation I've touched on before, but it is a very specific type of meditation that sort of has this mindfulness meditation base or roots, and then you usually use a specific mantra that your teacher has given you over and over. So it's also kind of like a mantra meditation. A lot of times people have heard of Vipassana because the Beatles were into it, and there's a lot of celebrities that have gotten into Vipassana or insight meditation. But Joseph Goldstein is the one that really helped bring that to the West. So how do you practice it? How do you do mindfulness meditation? And it's honestly so simple. You find a quiet place to sit or lay down, traditionally sitting, but I support, this is me not being a pure meditation teacher anymore. I feel so rebellious giving you guys these they're not even workarounds, ways to make it work for you. So anyways, I'm such a rebel. So you find a comfortable position, you close your eyes or soften your gaze, and then you bring your attention to some kind of an anchor. So again, this might deviate a little bit depending on who your teacher was or who their teacher was, but often it's going to be the breath, or it could be just sensations in the body. It could be sounds around you. You could be doing something. I like to do this when I teach like present moment meditation, which is what I call mindfulness meditation. present moment, or I guess it's a slight variation on it. But I like to do senses cycling, where you just think about like, what do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I see? What do I feel? And you just experience the moment through your senses, where a true like mindfulness meditation, you could have the anchor be just your breath or the sensations, one of your senses, something like that. And then you just stay. You just notice the inhale and you notice the exhale. Or maybe you just sit and you be, and when thoughts pop up, you just make note and you let them go. Or you sit and be, and you just wait for sounds to appear. And when the mind wanders, which again it will, you notice that too, and then you just gently return to whatever your anchor is. Let's use the breath, for example, because that is one that is most commonly used, right? So you're focusing on your breath. You're just noticing the inhale, you're noticing the exhale, and the mind's going to wander, and you go, oh, uh-oh, I wandered, and then you'll gently bring it back. And do that over and over again. And it's the act of noticing and returning that is the practice. That's like that bicep curl for your awareness, for your focus. You're training your mind to be present. So you wander, oh, and then you come back. Wander, come back. Again, that process is the practice, not just magically sitting crisscross applesauce and like floating on this little cloud and having no thoughts. It's about training the brain to really be present. So some other variations of these quote like anchors that you might have could be something like a body scan. So just gently moving your awareness through the body. And this would be a little bit different than the body scans we do here, where I lead you through the different parts of your body. It'd be like, you sit there. I love this one when you're having a hard time falling asleep. Like even when you feel like my brain is so busy, just give this one a try. But you're going to just be. And then you're going to start with like your right big toe or your right little toe. And then you'll move to the next toe and the next toe and the next toe. You'll go all the way through like all 10 toes. And then the soles of the feet and the tops of the feet. Like it really detailed the heels, the ankles, the front of the ankles, the calves, the shins. And like just move through one by one all the different parts of your body in order. And it really helps you fall asleep when you have a busy brain at night. So file that one away. Another anchor is sound. So just noticing sounds around you without labeling them. So like right now, I'm sitting here right now, it's going to be silent for a moment. If I'm just listening and I'm meditating, it's quite quiet because everyone's asleep right now. But like I can hear my dishwasher upstairs off in the distance. I can hear my stomach gurgling a little bit. I can hear the sound of my own breath. I can hear Mila itching upstairs. And it's like you just sit and you wait. And as these sounds appear, you're like, oh, there's a sound. You just make note of it. Also, thoughts can be another anchor. So this one, we won't be doing it as much. I have an episode for a little later in the year where we're going to use a practice called noting, where you make note of your thoughts. But it's basically just becoming aware of your thoughts as passing events, right? Often you'll hear them say or described as like clouds in the sky floating past, or like a leaf that falls in the stream and just continues down with the current. It's like you have the thing and then you just let it go. And I always hear from people that they can't do that, or they're like, what if I can't do that? I keep like following the thread is what I think about, right? If you have your favorite sweatshirt on and it has like a loose thread and you take it and you pull it, then all of a sudden it like keeps coming. You're like, I'm unraveling my whole sweatshirt. Don't follow the thread. That is a practice. The practice is training yourself to not follow the thread. Just notice there's a little thread there. And maybe later I'll, cut it off or whatever. But don't follow the thread. That's the practice. So if the clouds or the nature thing doesn't work for you, you can think of the thread. Or like even just don't jump down the wormhole. Don't do the deep dive. Don't do, as my therapist would call it, don't take the side quest. She recently was telling me, Kelly, you cannot, don't go on every side quest. You can't take on every side quest. And honestly, that was like life-changing information that she gave me. And I was like, she's like, that's why you always feel overwhelmed, because you never just get done what you plan to get done. You just keep taking on these side quests. And I was like, oh, that is it. And my therapist, I will say, is very, very good. It's one of the reasons why I've been working with her, but very good at helping like neurodivergent women like me. But anyways, your thoughts, right? Just becoming aware of your thoughts is like these passing events. Just like if you hear a sound, you go, oh, I can hear my dog scratching upstairs. And then you just kind of move on. Training yourself to let thoughts be that same way. Then there's also this concept of open awareness, where you let go of the anchor and simply just rest in awareness itself, just noticing whatever arises in your field of perception. So I would say this one is quite challenging. If you're first starting out, you're not really anchoring your boat at all. You're just kind of drifting off at sea and just noticing whatever pops up. It's a really important practice, but it does, if you have a tendency to follow the thread, it gives you a lot of opportunities to follow the thread. So in meditation teacher training, I teach what I call present moment meditation, which is a style of mindfulness meditation that's deeply rooted in the senses and being present with what you feel, hear, smell, taste, and see, either outwardly or within. And I love this practice, this present moment meditation, where you really focus on the sensory experience. And so if you wanted to try this at home, this is how you would do it. If you just wanted to dabble with it a little bit, you could do this. This is like a 1-minute exercise, just trying to challenge yourself to experience 1 single minute. And that's it. So you'd set a timer for 1 minute. You could do 2 minutes if you were feeling bold. And you're just going to kind of cycle through your senses. And you're just going to check in. What do I feel right now, right? It could be the feeling of the clothes on your body, the temperature of the air on your skin, the connection between your body and the floor you're sitting on. What do I hear? You're just going to observe. Just notice what you hear. What do I smell? What do I taste? If I have a soft gaze, what do I see around me? Or if you have your eyes closed, what do I see within me? You can choose which one you want to do. What do I see when I look inward? What's happening underneath the surface? And you just notice, do distractions pop up? What do you think about? What do you notice? And you could just take 1 minute of stillness and silence and just be present with your senses cycling through, and maybe write down everything that you remember that came up. And it's a really powerful practice to do that for even like 60 seconds. And what I'm always struck with is just like the symphony of life that's all around me, the noises I can hear. It's all these other people going through, dogs, kids, adults, whatever, going through living their lives in their own bubbles, doing their own things. Like, it's just the sound of life. It's just like the experience of, it's just the human experience. And I always think that's so cool. And that just really touches me. It's really moving to me. And so I love this practice. So if you want to try it at home, you can do that. Now, some of the benefits. So I wanted to kind of the last 2 things I wanted to touch on are the benefits of mindfulness meditation, and then studies that have been done on this particular style of meditation and what it seems to be particularly good at. Because all meditation is beneficial, but certain styles seem to be particularly good at certain things, right? So loving kindness meditation, or TWIM, seems to be particularly good at softening your heart, making you a more compassionate and happy person. Or, for example, like a breath awareness meditation or even an insight meditation, very good for cultivating focus. And you're going to see in a moment what mindfulness meditation seems to be particularly good at. So mindfulness meditation, the benefits are definitely wide-reaching, but I would say the big benefits of it is first going to be emotion regulation. This is why you see this a lot coming into like schools and workplaces, right? Like places where emotions can be kind of high, or like kids. If you can start teaching your kids about mindfulness meditation, having them practice some of these foundations, it's truly going to be life-changing for them. So practicing mindfulness gives you a moment between stimulus and response. So it's going to teach you how to pause before reacting, which creates space for just more intentional, well thought out, often kind choices. So great for emotion regulation. Then there's stress reduction, right? That's good old John Kabat-Zinn and his mindfulness-based stress reduction. So it's one of the biggest reasons that people turn to meditation and mindfulness meditation is to calm the nervous system, lower cortisol, and to help process life's challenges, become more resilient, or just have our human existence be less stressful. So it's great for that. It also improves focus and attention. So by training the mind to come back to the present moment, you're actually sharpening your ability to concentrate, and that carries over into everything, all aspects, right? Focus is like a muscle. The stronger that muscle gets, the better you can utilize it in all aspects of your life: work, relationships, parenting, driving, all of it. Mindfulness meditation also helps to build self-compassion so you can learn to witness your experience without judgment or shame or harshness or anything like that. But it's also going to teach you how to be able to witness others' experience without judgment and being more compassionate in that way. And I also think that one of the benefits that we don't talk enough about is that it really helps you just be more present, be alive, and like be there for life. It often feels like we are living life with like the fast forward button down. And I don't know, it just is really beautiful to like be present, even if you do that 1-minute exercise. It's like there's so much going on. There's so much life. And being present for it, I think, is a really beautiful benefit. So closing out here with some of the studies that have been done on mindfulness meditation. So mindfulness meditation has been shown to induce structural and functional changes in the brain. So some of the structural changes, there's a meta-analysis published in Nature, which Nature isn't necessarily a publication that you hear me talk about often, but this same study, Nature, is a place where I found like the link to it, but it's been verified other places too, not just like Nature. And I also want to specify that it's like nature.com, not like nature like outside. Anyways, so Nature, where I found this quote, but then I did follow the thread on this one. It has been verified other places, but it found that mindfulness-based interventions are associated with structural brain changes, particularly in regions related to attention and emotion regulation, right? So the prefrontal cortex, for example. We know Sarah Lazar is doing a lot of work on this. So there's also been research by Gail Desbordes, I believe, Desbordes, at Harvard Medical School, just Harvard Medical School, ever heard of her, utilized functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, to observe changes in brain activity among depressed patients who learned to meditate. And the study aimed to understand the intentional brain processes affected by mindfulness meditation training. And so what they found is that mindfulness meditation is indeed, or it seems to indicate that it can be extremely beneficial for those with depression, because they saw that there are certain brain processes that are being positively affected by mindfulness meditation, which is really cool. Mindfulness meditation has also demonstrated other benefits for mental health. So there was a 2014 meta-analysis that was published, and it concluded that mindfulness-based interventions are effective in reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And then there was another systematic review that was done of different studies that highlighted that mindfulness practices lead to increased subjective well-being and reduced psychological symptoms and improved behavioral regulation. So all of that to say that like these meta-analysis or like reviews and things like that, systematic reviews, it's like they're looking at these different studies and pulling out the commonalities. So the commonalities are saying that these things are effective in reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression, and then also kind of increasing well-being and your behavioral and emotional regulation while reducing psychological symptoms. Mindfulness meditation has also been studied when it comes to sleep and insomnia, and not just because of the body scan that I told you to do to help you fall asleep, which it does work. But mindfulness meditation has been linked to improvements in sleep, specifically some sleep disorders. So research indicates that mindfulness meditation can alleviate insomnia and improve sleep quality by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which then counters the fight or flight response, because we know if we are stressed, if our nervous system is in fight or flight, our mind is going a million miles an hour, we're not sleeping. And you know what never helps our sleep? Stress, ever. Whether you have a true sleep disorder or not, stress and sleep are not friends. And so if we're working to reduce our stress and support our nervous system, naturally we're going to sleep better. And I would say this is one of the things that I hear from my students, or people who, even listeners who are, maybe send me an email or a DM and are saying like, I've been, listening, I've been meditating every day for 3 weeks and I started for my anxiety. But the thing that I really noticed, it's always like I'm sleeping better. I'm not as angry behind the wheel, and I'm not as like snippy with my kids. Those are like the 3 big things. And I have more patience with my coworkers. Those are like the 4 big things that I hear people when they're starting like their meditation journey that they notice first, like these improvements. And I think all of those things are amazing. There's also been a meta-analysis in 2023 that found that mind-body therapies, including mindfulness meditation, significantly improve sleep disturbances among cancer patients, which I think is amazing. I think all cancer research is amazing. If you are someone who works in cancer research, like I think you are amazing. Cancer is something that has personally touched my life with my mom. I very recently lost a family member to cancer very recently. It's also something that has, once again, touched my life again. And we'll say my inner circle, not necessarily like my blood family, things like that. So just know, if you are listening right now and you work in cancer research, like you are a phenomenal human being, and thank you for what you're doing. I just wanted to say that. And I think that it's a little bit of a tangent, but I think when we think about like cancer patients and things like that and cancer research, something that always sticks with me, like when my mom was going through her treatments and everything, is it wasn't always necessarily the data. Like it was that. It was the data. Like when they said basically guided visualizations help to boost your white blood cell count during chemo, I was like, well, that's amazing, Mom. Like, let's do more of that. You need to boost your white blood cell count. But the things that I really remember are the things that they were looking at that helped support the patient more holistically. And I mean holistically, like the whole person, not like holistic, like how we, like, I don't know, like you guys know what I'm trying to say, like holistically, like the whole person, and not like super woo-woo out there, fringe ideas. So I remember them being like, acupuncture is something that helps to reduce anxiety in cancer patients and also seems to boost your immune system. Like when they're talking about meditation, helps to boost your white blood cell count. And that's because it's helping to reduce their stress. Or like looking at mindfulness meditation and how can we improve sleep disturbances among cancer patients. And I just think that like those are the things that really stick with me, because at least for me, these handful of times that cancer has been in my life, in my immediate circle, like I trust the oncologist to do what they're doing, but then I want to help support them beyond that. And so that's what sticks with me, is like the things that like I can do or we can do. Like I'm not an oncologist, but like I can see that, my mom is, wasn't sleeping well during this time. And so how can we help support that? Because sleep is life. Or like someone who, the family member that I lost, like when they were in end-of-life care, like I was able to go and be with them, and like she asked for a meditation and things like that, and like a sound bath, and to help calm the nervous system like during this transitional time, things like that I just think are so, I don't know, it's just powerful. And thank you for listening to this tangent. It's something that's been on just my mind and my heart, just because, I don't know, it's, sometimes life throws you curveballs and stuff. And so anyone, I don't know, I felt compelled to share. So anyone who's listening where cancer has touched your life, or this is something that you're experiencing, or you work with cancer patients and things like that, like me as the caregiver or the family member or the friend or the support person, whatever it is, what I really remember is the things that I could do to help support the person like outside of the oncology appointment. And so when I came across this study, I was like, that's so cool that mindfulness meditation is helping to improve sleep disturbances among cancer patients. And then the last one that it seems to be particularly good at is physical health and pain management. So mindfulness meditation contributes to physical health in a couple of ways. Pain reduction is a big one. So a study published in Biological Psychiatry showed that mindfulness meditation effectively reduces pain intensity and emotional response to pain, really highlighting its potential to help support a more drug-free intervention for chronic pain. I've also seen studies where what they were doing is they were using mindfulness meditation so that those who felt they were too dependent on drugs for their pain. It was almost like the more they were meditating, then they could slowly kind of wean off of their pain medications. And it's just really interesting, the studies that they're doing on like pain and meditation. And then blood pressure and immune function. So there was a study that the American Psychological Association did looking at blood pressure and immune system. And they saw that mindfulness meditation helped to improve both your immune system and then lower your blood pressure. They believe because of its really relaxing and stress relieving properties. Because again, if we're stressed, our immune system isn't functioning the way it's supposed to, and that can increase our blood pressure. So that is what I found for this simple, but certainly not easy, traditional style of meditation. I hope you found this interesting. I had a blast talking about it, and I will see you on Sunday for a guided practice. And yeah, I can't wait to share it with you. Thank you so much for being here, and know that I think about you, honestly, like every day. I just think about like you being here, giving me your time, which is such a valuable resource, like just being a part of this community. I'm really, really grateful for you, and I hope you have a beautiful day ahead.